He built the thing that listened to your television through your phone. The FTC noticed. Nobody at his company bothered to open the letter, so he burned the product down and bet everything on a category that didn't have a name yet. Today, he scans 500 million seconds of video a day, has never really talked to YouTube, and will tell you most AI and ad tech is fiction. Hitesh, Chawla. This is the AdOtat Show.
Welcome to the AdOtat Show. My guest today is Hitesh Chawla, founder and CEO of Silverpush. Hitesh is an IT engineer from Delhi who founded a company that got warning letters from the FTC for ultrasonic cross-device tracking, pivoted completely, and rebuilt the company into an AI-powered contextual intelligence platform that now scans 500 million seconds of video daily. Dennis Pickle, a previous guest on the show, named him on his desert island list and said he represents the incredible power of engineering in the East. He also submitted 3 specific questions about Silverpush, which I'll be asking. Hitesh describes himself as an engineer who loves solving problems. Let's find out what problems he has solved and which ones he had created. First question of the day, how are you doing?
Very good. Good to be on the show. Big fan of yours.
Thank you. So your first product, Silverpush's original product, used ultrasound audio beacons to track cross-device behavior. The FTC sent you warning letters, you ended the service, and rebuilt the entire company around contextual AI. Walk me through that pivot. What happened inside Silverpush when the FTC letter arrived?
Very interesting start to the conversation. So this is, I think, 2015, probably 2014. We were doing something, building something in India, which was around how we could match, or at least match what are people's viewing habits on TV. So we were using ultrasonic audio for that. Now, you're right, that FTC notice came, which somehow assumed that we were doing something in US, which we were not. And we did not take it seriously. We did not respond. So that's why they put it on the website, and that became a bigger deal than it was. But in any case, what we realized that what we were building is always going to be questioned. So why not build something which will not fall into such trap? And the learning.
But isn't Nielsen now doing the same exact thing? I'd spoken to them about this month. Now they have wearable devices that can listen to the TV and looks for audio beacons.
It's happening with not just Nielsen, but there are multiple companies which do something similar. But again, we were too small to fight it out, and rather we thought what's something we take out as a learning from the whole incident. One is that privacy is important. Let's say, what can we do where privacy is probably the hero? Rather, the learning from that same thing was that let's not do something where there's any consumer data involved, no questions involved. And then how do we target consumers if you can't use their personal data? And contextual was the only answer at that time. In fact, if you think of 2015, no one was talking about, or even no one was using the word contextual at that time. So we started building around it. In fact, even we didn't call it contextual initially. Our idea was that we'll understand the content, and based on that, we'll show ads. And then once we launched, then we realized it's called contextual. So that automatically became our story. So why we started with video was because that was a hard challenge to solve at that time. It's now that you find AI models where it's easy to understand the content, but at that time there was no such AI models, so it was a hard problem to solve at that time. So we started video. Video was anyways as a content platform exploding everywhere, whether it was YouTube or other social platforms. So that content explosion and our story around contextual helped build it out.
So you founded Silverpush in 2012, 14 years. You raised $22 million across 7 rounds. Can you walk me where the growth came, where it stalled, and where you are now?
Sure. Like I said, I would count 2015 is our kind of a restart or the restart of the company. So it's been 10 years now. And we would have raised close to 22 million in total so far across like a few rounds. And all our early years, let's say from 2015 to maybe 2020, first 5 years, was all about building it out and expanding into emerging markets. So we started from India, then we looked for other markets which were not very expensive, were very much like India. So we went to Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, all those Southeast Asian countries, Middle East, Africa. And we got good success everywhere. In fact, all the markets still are, we are still the strongest in these markets, strongest player in
Where have
these
you struggled
markets.
the most, though?
I'll come to that. So, but to answer your question, we've struggled so far in South America. We've not found success in South America, but we've found success in all the developed markets. Just strangely, developed markets worked. US, Japan, Australia, whole of Europe, all the markets in Europe, all the markets have been doing well, but we still we haven't found probably the right fit. Maybe it's product market fit, maybe it's client fit, but somehow we still haven't been able to win in South America.
If last touch attribution worked, your waiter would get full credit for the meal. We make sure the chef gets credit too. Incremental.
So could you explain mirrors to me? A brand gives you money. What exactly happened next? What does the brand get they could not get with you? Without you?
Sure. So if you look at any of the ad platforms, you can go to any ad platform, select what target audience you want, what probably demographics you want, what geography you want. But where those platforms don't help at a granular level is what content you want to go after. Let's say if you're, say, YouTube, then which particular YouTube channel is more relevant for my campaign goal perspective, campaign audience perspective? What's the probably content which will have consumers in the state of mind I want for my product or my campaign? So helping them identify that context, building intelligence around it. Let's say understanding which context performed, which particular channel performed, or which particular context delivered results. So going deep into that insights on these platforms is where we add value. And this works not just YouTube as an example, but even connected TV. Connected TV has been going fast for us. Then TikTok, Meta. So different platforms in different ways, we add value in identifying the relevant content from the campaign perspective.
So Trends Intelligent platform launched in January 2026. It converts real-time cultural trends into contextual targeting signals. How fast is really real-time? Is it hours, minutes?
Let me define it by what's the problem we are trying to solve. Otherwise, the meaning gets lost. So the problem that exists, or when we speak to brands, agencies, the problems that they came up with was, we understand the context, we help them identify the content. But one thing that they miss is when something starts trending on social media, by the time they understand that, by the time they are able to, let's say, build a creative around it or run a campaign around it, it's too late. The trend is mostly already gone. So how do you identify that in as real time? I'll answer your question how real time it can be, but identifying the content that's getting created around it, quickly adding to the campaign, because new content gets created faster on trending content. Identifying that content, adding to the campaign, keeping it fresh is what's the problem we solve now. Your question was how fresh the content is. So basically, we refresh it every 24 hours when new content gets created around the trend that's identified. And before that, identifying the trend itself, there is, when you know the campaign goal. So we will have, let's say, this particular audience usually would maybe looking at this kind of trends. And sometimes even the bigger events, like for example, now Football World Cup and FIFA content, any particular granular content around it, let's say any particular player being trending or whatever trends around FIFA, we should be able to capture and put in the campaign is how we solve the problem.
So you also described yourself as an engineer who loves solving problems. That's the most humble CEO self-description received, because you've also raised $22 million. You employ 150 people globally. Is it humility genuine, or a cultural style that Western audience misread as lack of ambition?
Thank you for the compliment first. Very appreciative of that. I don't know, probably it's less of, I would say, if I have to still think of it, I would say from being from a very small town in India, not even a town which is maybe 20 years behind Delhi, our capital. From a town, when I come from there, probably that's everything is something, anything in life, I feel like I would have never imagined getting there.
Well, you went
So,
to IIT in Delhi, which is elite. You're like engineering royalty in India. But does that mean something a little bit different in the ad tech world?
even in the ad tech world, it means something when you build any startup in India and you come from IIT. But like anything, whatever has happened in my life is like something I wouldn't have imagined getting there. Like even when I'm talking to you, I wouldn't have imagined 5 years back we would have be having this conversation. I feel like really thankful for that. As in, I wouldn't have imagined that. To answer your question, it's cultural. It's also even within the culture where I am from could have a big role to play. And you're right, that IIT has helped in the sense that giving me the right engineering framework or how to think about problems or how to solve problems. That's what I've learned there.
So Dennis Pickle named you on his desert island. He said you represent the incredible engineer of the East. He submitted 3 questions. Are you ready for him?
Yeah, I would
You
love
know
to hear
Dennis,
that.
right?
Yeah, after
He
I've
wasn't just
researched that.
joking that he knows you. His first question, his exact words, is Silverpush's entire business based on the big platform's refusal to build state-of-the-art brand suitability tools? YouTube, TikTok, Meta could theoretically build everything Mirror does, and they choose not to. Is Dennis right? Is your business built in someone else's gap?
It's built on someone else's gap for sure. But it's also any platform cannot grade its own content. It's like someone else shall be able to grade the content, especially when it comes to content. Over time, technology has become so much more intelligent in understanding that, not from just, I would say, creating buckets around content, but also on the other side, what works for the brand, what works for a particular campaign. That being able to find that match is where our strength has become over time. But yes, what we think of is that wherever brands or agencies are buying, we should be on that platform. We should not be like bucketed into one particular platform. We should not be bucketed away from walled gardens versus programmatic. Wherever they want to buy, wherever they're buying, we should be able to add value there.
So his second question was, India gives Silverpush unbeatable cost and AI talent advantages over US, EU ad tech, but that is not enough to win globally. Do you need specific Western skills to truly scale? What I think Dennis is asking is, can Indian engineering beat Western sales and relationships?
Very good question, actually. Very good question. So I wouldn't say purely from the perspective that cost arbitrage is there in engineering. Even good engineers in India are expensive, like here, like in the West. But my own engineering background helps in the sense that even if when we are, let's say, not here, but I spend time, and I think one of the things basically has happened over time is that I try to learn from everyone. I try to learn from everyone we hire, everyone we have in US, everyone we have in Europe. So those are like people I learn the most from, and anything I learn there, just even if I'm sitting in a meeting where I'm not talking, but they are talking, there's so much learning happening, and then that learning helps understanding what we should be building, how we should be going about solving the problem. So there's so much to learn just from talking to clients, from talking to our teams, and then using that in intelligence or understanding with engineers in India to help in building it out. That helps. We of course can hire more people with the same amount of funding, which if you raise 20 million in US, you wouldn't be able to.
So Dennis's third question, this is really ambitious, is Silverpush best to position to launch Dennis Pickle's worldview framework, preventing the multi-billion-dollar alienation tax and unlocking additional revenue for potential for news, political, and high opinion creators? Basically, he's trying to pitch you a collaboration on air. Yeah, no problem. Worldview framework, preventing the multi-billion alienation tax and unlocking additional revenue potential for news, political and high opinion content creators. Basically, he wants me to pitch a collaboration on air.
Interesting. I think so. The understanding, I would love to. This is an interesting problem. I would say I won't have an answer right now, but like I said, like you said earlier, that I love solving problems, and this could be an interesting problem to solve, collaborate and solve.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be solved right now, but you
Yeah,
still wanted me
so
to ask.
yes, I think we have the right tools or right understanding of this. Would love to go deep into it, and work towards it. And for sure, could be an interesting problem to solve.
So, moving on specifically AI, every ad tech company says AI powered. So, what does your AI do that is different?
Okay. AI over time has changed. AI over time has evolved. Our AI was, let's say, 2 years back is different than what we are talking about AI now. So it's like AI, the whole AI is evolving so fast that how do we innovating faster? So now I would say I could answer this question in different parts, like how it was 2 years back and versus how it's now. 2 years back, it was more around just using AI for improving content identification, content bucketing, campaign optimization around it. But now AI has reached a stage where it's like part of everything we do. Everyone in the company has to code, like is learning to code if they're not coding yet. That everyone, whether it's sales, client servicing, vibe coding, and then using it to solve problems, that everyone should learn doing that internally. That's one. We've been making our product more agentic, like everything. Most of the things we did is now converted into different architecture, which is very agentic. Let's say we were talking about trends. There's an agent which would be getting trends from TikTok. There's another agent might be getting trends from Meta. Then different agent combining that, and then use another agent which is activating into campaigns, or another agent which is optimizing the campaigns for different platforms. Now, earlier, these tools were only used by us, and now, because this is how the architecture has evolved with new AI, now we're working towards being able to give the whole platform or the architecture to our clients or to new agencies or brands who would want to use it. So a lot has evolved over time, I would say, and I see that now AI has created massive opportunities. There's a massive opportunity of how fast we can move and build something new in this new AI native world.
So you said at CES last year that advertising is moving from the attention economy to the distraction economy. Can you explain? Because as far as I know, advertisers want attention. Distraction sounds like the complete opposite.
That was more like trying to explain them that when they don't use context and the amount of content that gets created, because amount of content that gets created every day, it's very hard to get attention of the users. That's like other way of saying it, that they've been that economy is becoming more as in that distraction in the economy is increasing with so much content.
Is context more important then?
Context becomes more important because everyone quickly swipes through the content. Same for the ads. If they are not interested in that, they'll quickly swipe it out. So that becomes even more important, that the ad being at the relevant spot at the right time, or right time when I say right frame of mind. So that's why when it's kind of the content they're looking at and adding or showing the ad at that time, it improves the attention. And we've seen the results, like improving attention or cost per attention with context.
So what is the difference between brand suitability and brand safety? Because brand safety seems binary and brand suitability is a spectrum.
So brand safety is more around like blocking of content. What's the type of content you don't want to be seen with? That's like blacklisting of content or blocklisting of content. And brand suitability is like whitelisting of content. That what's the content you want to be seen with? What's the content type my brand would want to be seen with, or this is the type of content which is relevant for my campaign. So finding that suitable content is brand suitability, more like whitelisting versus blacklisting or blocklisting of content. That's how you.
So how do you handle news
differentiate.
content? For example, let's say a shooting story could be unsafe, but suitable for a security company.
Correct. So if it's a security company, then and the brand suited for them, the issue is not brand. I would say safety in this case. For them, it's now whitelisting of content, which is more relevant. And when they're talking about security, finding content which is, let's say, talking about shooting or showing content about shooting. So then it's finding that brand suitable content, putting it in whitelist and running the ads.
So how do you operate across YouTube, CTV, Program Meta, TikTok? Each has different rules and APIs. How do you maintain consistency?
You're like I said, one is that how everything is moved to agentic multi-agent architecture has helped us scale with different agents managing everything. Second, built for each platform, thinking based on that platform. It's not like one size fits all, that if this works on YouTube, it will work for other platforms. It's not true. So we have to think deep for each platform. And third, it helps that, like you mentioned earlier, that being in India with more engineers, so we can have a team for each platform instead of the same person running through all the platforms. So that's how we've been able to solve a problem for one platform at a time.
Does YouTube cooperate with you, or are you reverse engineering it?
A good question. Not so, because we come from APAC or Asia side of the world. All the companies which started from US already had a starting point of YouTube relationship. We did not. We still did not have even a conversation with YouTube. We've not had a conversation with YouTube for a long time, like till probably last year. And now we've been talking to the teams and how we can work more closely with them. Now we are talking to their account teams in some of the countries. So now that relationship is getting built. But I would say till last year, it's been without their team's involvement or probably support. We've been just
Are you
building
finding
it on our own.
Contextual harder on CTV than YouTube?
So both have different problems on
Fewer
both.
signals, sorry.
I'll tell you the difference between the two. What we had to solve on connected TV, we had to solve very different. Connected TV is less content. Like the amount of content that gets created on connected TV is at least finite, not like YouTube, the content is infinite. So it's easier from content perspective, connected TV, but it's harder because there are so many publishers. YouTube is one API. Now on connected TV, there are multiple publishers. Every publisher will send, let's say, content information in bitstream in their own field, and some might send it like encrypted or in a way that we have to solve for each publisher on how they send the content information, understand their structure, understand their, let's say, library. We have to solve for different problems on connected TV. So connected TV was again a big problem to solve, less from the content perspective, but from the perspective of getting access to the information about content and then going out and finding different ways, like let's say a subtitles API to get subtitles for the content. Now I identified this is the content. So like it needed a completely different approach to solve, and to different integrations were needed for this.
So your desert island was the most considered answer we've ever had. You had family, then you reconsidered. The Silverpush team, it means escape. Could you walk me through that thought process?
No, so what I meant was that if I'm at the desert island and forever there at the desert island, then of course I would want it to be with my family, that we're together and we're still happy. And if the thing is that I'm stuck at a desert island, now I have to solve of the problem of getting out of it, then I would want to have people who I know are good at solving problem together as a team. The team I've been working with, that like I said, and working together to solve a problem is an important skill. And team I've worked with, there's an understanding of how each of us work, what are the strengths of everyone. So that team, I know, will work together to solve that problem. So that's why I said that if the problem is of getting out of the island, then I would want Silverpush team. If the problem is of living there forever, then of course it will be my family.
So your superpower is to see the future. That's an engineer's answer. If you could see 5 years ahead for Silverpush, what question would you ask?
I would want to know where, if you ask me today, it will be like how far or how far ahead will AI be in 5 years? Then what will become redundant? What will become obsolete? What will probably grow? It's a massive opportunity. What AI brings, it's a massive opportunity, and equally it's destructive in the sense that it will be destructive for some of the industries or some of the job roles. It's like finding that right, being on the right side of it. So that's why I would want to know what's 5 years down the line where it goes.
She also went to mention IIT Delhi, class of 2004. For those that don't know, getting into IIT is harder than getting into Harvard. Can you walk me through the moment you decided to stop being an employee and start being an entrepreneur?
Certainly. So, this is 2004, and right after it, I've worked in few roles. I was in Australia for some time doing actually research. Then I came back and I wanted to get into financial engineering. But this is around 2007. What was happening in India was that there was this whole wave of, or not even wave, but early wave of startups being people becoming entrepreneurs or engineers becoming entrepreneurs. This didn't happen before that. This is around 2007. People started thinking of entrepreneurship as a career. So I really got intrigued by it, and then I started feeling like this is something I like to do, because being able to solve a problem which is bigger and something I enjoy solving that gives me the platform. So around 2008 is when I tried my first startup. It didn't work out. Spent a couple of years because at that time I didn't know how to code. 2008 or 2009 to 2012 is when I learned coding. I was working but also learning coding. So when I restarted again, this is second time when I started Silverpush 2012. At that time, I started coding on my own. As in I built the first product on my own, because first time my learning was that I needed to have a co-founder who can code, which I didn't have. So rather I learned coding, and I'll not have to depend on finding the co-founder who can code. So I built the first product on my own for Silverpush.
So I also noticed you're an investor in 17 startups. Which ones made it, and what did you see in those that succeeded versus those that failed?
So I've invested in more, probably closer to 30. But for me, the only thing I would say, not only thing, I would say two things. One, it's the entrepreneur, it's the founder mindset, what they're thinking, how they're going after it, how deeply invested they're into it. Is it I'll do it, and then if it works, if it works, if it doesn't, someone who will persist and continue going after that problem. So that's one. The second is their approach to going after a bigger market. Are they someone who are thinking bigger? I mean, the first is much bigger. The first is much more important. The founder. I know, because sometimes they're in a smaller market, but even if they're going for a smaller market, but over time they'll expand their market if the founder is strong. So founder is the number one, and then the market thereafter. How I would look at, and yes, a lot of companies have done well. In fact, I've got some very good exits from a few companies. Some those are most of the investments are in India, and they are some of the top startups right now. Top startups as in the companies which have scaled. Then there are recent investments. So not all companies would have scaled, but of course some have failed also, and then some have done very well. They're some of the famous startups now.
So you also mentioned more talk than substance for words. Can you unpack it? And where specifically do you see more talk than substance?
More talk than substance. Did I mean it for ad tech?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Is there also a cultural dimension? Because I know that Indian tech is execution first and Western tech is narrative first.
That's right. That's exactly what I mean. That when I see in US, uh, everyone talks about tech, but I feel ad tech is one of the industries is most behind on tech than most advanced. And people are quick to pick what's trending in the conversations and start talking about it that as if they've already done it and already implemented it. But I see that there's a large gap between what people are talking and what they're actually executing. So that's what I would have meant.
So rapid fire, whatever comes to your mind first. The most overrated thing in ad tech.
The most overrated thing in ad tech right now that everyone is AI native, which is
The
not
most
true.
underrated.
Most underrated. That companies which are probably cash flow positive and don't get talked about a lot. I would say cash flow is the most under talked or underrated concept.
Best engineering decision at Silverpush.
Best engineering decision, probably the decision we took when we received the FTC notice and then completely pivoted to completely 180 degrees of it, that from doing something which needed consumer data or was fully dependent on consumer data to going after completely 180 degree of it, that we'll go after privacy safe advertising.
Worst.
Worst. There are many products I would say we've done so we keep experimenting with a lot of products, a lot of experiments we do. And in fact, out of 10, probably 9 fail, but we keep experimenting. So I won't say the worst. The worst would still be the audio beacon concept, which got us infamous for privacy.
One thing about the future of advertising that you'd like to see.
One thing in the future of advertising I would love to see is, how agencies evolve, how with the AI and agencies have a large role to play, how they evolve with the market. That's something I would want to see, that how they are implementing and working closely with the clients to execute and transform, because they are so much penetrated into advertising that they have a large responsibility of evolving this industry, and how they support and how they learn and how they transform along with the brands is something I would love to see.
One sentence for every advertiser thinking about contextual targeting.
One sentence. Try it out, as in everyone should try it out, because it's relevant, and it only adds another layer of refinement to their buying.
Hitesh, thank you. You're an engineer, describes himself as someone who loves solving problems and is always learning. That is the most understated description of a person who survived an FTC controversy, the entire company. He rebuilt around Contextual AI and now scans 500 million seconds of video daily. Dennis Pickle called you the representation of the East engineering power. Your own description is much humbler. The truth is somewhere in between, and the industry should be paying more attention. I'm Pesach Latta, and this has been The Dodo Show. Build more, talk less, and see you next time.
Thank you so much.
That's the show. Thanks to Hitesh Chawla for answering questions most CEOs pay a firm to avoid. Speaking of which, thank you to our sponsors, Troutman Amin LLP, the lawyers you want on speed dial before the regulator writes not after, and incremental.com for everyone still pretending their attribution model is real. I'm Pesach Latin. Build more, talk less, and see you next time.
Pull up a chair, we're just getting warmed up. We're the publication of record for the people with the money. A-D-O-T-A-T, and we aren't done. We aren't done. We're just getting started. No intimidation. We aren't scared. We are here, and my voice is clear. Oh, my voice is real clear.